Yeah, that's I'll just wait for us to go live and then we
Okay.
can. Yeah, thank you so much once again. I
Thank God, sir.
really appreciate this. Okay, there we are.
Okay.
Yeah, there we are. I actually like this immersive view on
Yeah,
YouTube.
I haven't tried it before. I
Yeah,
just said
yeah,
it.
yeah. I was fiddling with it because I had time on my hands, and
Okay.
I like what I'm seeing.
Oh,
And then, sorry, I saw your 6 a.m. post just now where you said I should,
oh,
tag
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
To
I'm
collaborate.
so, I'm so sorry.
No
I
problem.
just, I just saw it now, and
Uh, I just sent a reminder to everybody just now.
okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. All right.
So,
So wait a few minutes for some, more people to join us.
joining. Okay.
And hello, everybody. If you can hear me, can you just do a yes or a hi? Okay, Aniekam Basi. Hi, Aniekam. You're the first person to say hi. Thank you so much for joining. If you're out there, please say something so I know you can hear and you can see us. All right. Okay. Hi, Pastor Kaj. Thank you. You are live, sir. Thank you so much, Pastor Kaj. It's really a pleasure to have you with us on this one. Who else is there? Okay, Israel. Hi, Israel. Oasis Parish. Thank you so much. Yemi Oyewole. Thank you, Yemi. Good evening. Okay, Pastor Ibu Yinka. Hi, good evening, sir. Great. All right, Tunde Olajide, thank you for joining. Yes, Pastor Israel. Well, I don't know if he's a pastor, but there's Israel. T. Becker, thank you. Titi Adegbile. Hello, ma. Thank you for joining. All right. Good to have you here. Great. What I find is that there are people who join, they won't say anything until they see me in person. And then they go, oh, that interview you did, that guy you brought. I'm like, really? Were you there?
I know.
Ernest Chimeze. Hi, Ernest. Good evening. Kayode Adejumo. Good evening, sir. Peter, good evening. Great. Oh, thank you so much for joining, everybody. I'm so delighted to have Pastor Wale Adenuga in the house with us this morning. Ifedayo Akinuli. Thank you. Thank you for joining. So welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Pastors Roundtable. It's my pleasure once again to host this program. I like to say that the Pastors Roundtable is a forum for pastors to come together and have what I call life-giving conversations that edify the body and glorify the Lord. All right. It's a forum where we deal with those issues that sometimes we pretend don't exist. Okay. All right. And I always like to say that if you are coming on for the first time, please subscribe to my channel. Right there, you see the subscribe button somewhere there, at a word in season _ Please do subscribe. I really will appreciate it. My name is Noruwa Edopolo. I am your host. And I would like to say this, that the views expressed this program are those of the speakers. So I'm representing myself. I'm speaking for myself. And anybody I invite also speak for themselves in their personal capacities, okay? I like to say that. So creatives, what do we do with them? So I did 2 posts recently on social media. One of them was on MOHBAD, the young man that, passed on. The other one was on Pastor PJ, I call him PJ, Pastor Jimmy, of
Mountain?
yes, Mountain. And
Mountain.
yes, Fountain. Yes, I addressed different issues in both of those posts. But looking back now, I realized that I was talking about the same thing. All right. MOHBAD was a church boy that went to the world, a creative. PJ has opened the door that we have all been pretending did not exist, even though it was right there in front of us. Okay. And that is the dilemma that we are facing in church. And so this evening, to help us make sense of this very emotive subject, is none other than someone who evidently God has helped to stand in both worlds, all right? He's a pastor bona fide. I mean, he's as as a pastor, as any pastor on this program tonight. And chances are you have sung his song. Either all by, in fact, this is the one time I can play your music and I won't have any copyright issues. I will just say to YouTube, that is the owner of the song, so keep quiet. So, good evening, sir. Pastor Wale Adenuga, an accomplished gospel artist. I will say an elder in that space, and yet a man of God, a pastor. Welcome, sir. Thank you so much. Welcome.
Thanks so much, Pastor.
Yes, I'm really delighted to have you on this program. So, sir, can you tell us a bit about yourself, your background, both in church and in the creative community?
Once again, thank you, Pastor Noruwa, for having me today. Just like you said, I consider myself to be a creative person. A lot of you know the songs that I've sung. Today, You Learn a Worthy Lord, One in Conlogoya, and a couple of other songs. I'm a writer. I'm a songwriter, singer, worship leader, graphic artist. I organize conferences. I retired as a pastor. Some of you might find that strange. But I retired.
We'll come back to that, but let's hold on to we'll come back to that.
I retired as a pastor like 5 years ago. Right now, like I said, I organize a lot of learning events for church leaders and also for young people across Nigeria and actually across Africa. And the other thing I also do is I organize worship events, benefit concerts to raise funding for orphans and children with special needs. I'm married. September made it 26 years that I'm married to my wife. Her name is Bukola, and we have a daughter who's 24. She lives and works in New York. Yeah, so I think that's the story of my life.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. So how do you define the creative, generally speaking, and then within the church context, all right? And why is it important for us to learn how to engage?
Yeah, so I think really it's just a case of, well, maybe understanding or misunderstanding. When you talk about creatives in church, I think up until now, a lot of people will limit them to music and drama, right? Maybe I would say pre-COVID. But post-COVID has made us to realize that there are necessary and evolving ministries that we had never thought about before. I mean, so for instance, if before COVID you have thought that social media wasn't important, I mean, I'd had pastors who disparaged Facebook and all of those stuff before COVID. Everybody now knows that those are important things. And so therefore you need creative people who would come up with content, right? So there are no limits. There are actually no limits in terms of who you can call a creative, because people are coming up with all sort of things on a daily basis, providing, spewing out content, whether it's for comedy, whether it's for football and all of that. And the truth of the matter is that we can't kid ourselves. People spend more time watching those things, probably more than our sermons. So if that is true, then you probably want to pay a lot of attention to that. I have a young man. I don't know him personally, but I follow him. His name is Lasisi Elen. Now, not every Sunday, but maybe once in a while. I mean, obviously he's a Christian, and maybe once in a month he will do a pastor's skit. And this skit, what he's going to preach, is not more than 5 minutes. And what he says really makes sense. Maybe he talks about offering. Now, guess what? When this guy preaches, you see, for me, the most interesting thing is the comments. And you start to read comments, people say, oh boy, this is not the only church, the church where I go today. And you would see thousands of comments. Whether you like it or not, that guy's ministry was more effective than yours. That Sunday, he only preached for 5 minutes, and people were making comments. And honestly, even the message he preaches gets to me. So you have creative in those, in that kind of space. And like I said, the thing about creativity is that lot of, creativity has to be taught. A lot of us don't realize that we're creative, and because we don't realize that we're creative, we're just ordinary, and we just want to blend in. Okay, so I'm not sure whether I answered your question.
Yeah, sure. So you've actually touched on it. So what we're saying in effect is that when we use the word creative today, it's quite it's a broad,
it's a broad term.
So we should wake up to it, because it is actually beginning to lead the pack, in a manner of speaking.
Yes.
So it's not something we should disparage or look down upon, as we maybe once upon a time. Before now, when you think creative, you think of the musician, you think of the people in drama. Are you getting it? That's where creative kind of, maybe the artists, or maybe those who who paint, But today, that term creative is now very broad. Okay, and so
may I actually add, right, Pastor Noruwa? I think, of course, the greatest creative ever is God, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's it. So, he does. The truth of the matter is that we limit God, right? We like templates, right? But God doesn't do templates. So the fact that, for instance, he healed you by spitting into your eyes doesn't mean that if you need your eyes to be opened, God has to do it that same way. Think about a God who created they say there are 8 billion people are alive today. God created these 8 billion people in 8 billion different ways.
Wow.
Right? So we like to just limit God and put God in a box. But God is bigger. God is indescribable. We can describe him, but the way what we describe him as does not match exactly who he is. Yeah. So I'll just
bigger than our definition.
Yeah.
Profound. Profound. Yeah. Profound. So how can, because usually what I try to say is that here, I like it practical. So here I am, I'm a pastor. Okay. How can the church strike a balance between traditional practices and embracing the innovative expressions of the creative community? How can we strike that balance? It's almost like, how can we get the best of the two worlds?
So I think what the church. So when you say the church, I think of course the pastor is the local pastor is the pastor of the local church. So I think a whole lot of that conversation starts and rises and falls with the pastor. All right. So it's the body language of the pastor that everybody will follow. Now, I said I was going to share this story. So a lot of people will look at me today and say, "Oh, Wale Adenuga is a well-behaved person and all of that." The truth is that you don't know my history. So when I started leading worship in my church, Redeemed Christian Church of God, in 1994. Look, there'll be some days I just say I'm not going to church. I just feel crazy. I'm not going. And my pastor, his name is Kemeli Ele, I think he's a regional evangelist today in the north, in Abuja. Pastor Kemi would drive to my house, climb up the stairs, knock the door, sometimes literally carry me. I said, "Kilo share me, Jalo." Now, that's because I had a pastor who understood. Some other pastors would have inspired me and said, "What is it? Go and pray for him," and all of that. You see, when people are creative, there is sometimes in our heads, for instance, maybe when I'm designing, the only reason why I haven't locked my hair is because if my hair goes above this level, I have a headache. So that's why I can't keep long hair. Now, because I sing, because I design, right? Because I write, sometimes when I want to just twist my hair, and sometimes a lot of these things that people say against, say, "Oh, Rastafarian," let's just use that as an example, and say, "Oh, that's uncle." Okay, if it was like that, then obviously there's a problem with Samson, there's a problem with John the Baptist. All right? People say, oh, maybe people shouldn't wear beard. I always tell people, when people say, oh, don't put on beard, then let's go and shave Jesus' beard and Moses' beard. I mean, all those kind of things. So sometimes we come up with these theories and assertions that really don't hold water. And at the end of the day, actually cause us to disengage with very, very creative people.
So would it be right to say that there's some level of eccentricity? Is that the word?
No, it's not. It's not. The truth of the matter is that it's not. I don't think it is eccentricity. It's just that sometimes you are not seeing things the way these people see things.
Well, you're correct. I guess that's what makes you creative, because the ability to yes, to think differently,
to see things in a particular way that you don't see. And the fact that the fact that I see that way doesn't mean that I'm abnormal. Do you understand? And so that's it. So you just have to just respect people and understand also that sometimes that's what you call eccentricity or that unusualness actually is what is going to reach out to a particular group of people. Do you understand what I'm saying? So for instance, let me share this story. It's based on music, and it's something that happened in my house in one day. So I had a Worship for Change concert. This was 2016. I remember that date very well. And my parents came. I mean, in fact, I went to Ife today to see my parents. So my dad is almost 85. My mom is 83, and so they came for that concert. And after the event, my dad was like, "Oh, well, I mean, that was a good show, but I really didn't understand what everybody was saying." Now, I didn't really have out of the box. I mean, Nathaniel Bassi and all of these guys were there, but it was like, I don't really understand what people were saying. So put that to one side. I come back home. My daughter is doing dishes. She's listening to rap music. And my wife and I are in the sitting room. And we could hear the my wife says to her, "What are you listening to?" He says, "I'm listening to Lecrae." My wife doesn't know who Lecrae is. I know who Lecrae is. Lecrae is a rap artist. And then my wife says to her, "Why can't you listen to Don Wen?" My daughter says, "I can never listen to Don Wen." Now, can you see 3 different generations? Now, Don Wen is a creative person, but Don Wen, I've read an interview of Don Wen where Don Wen says even his own children consider his own music to be boring. I pay my daughter's school fees. She doesn't go out of her way to listen to my music. But that's the truth. Now, so let's take, for instance, we are in a church where, for instance, people will say, we're told maybe we should do hymns. That is fine. But do you also realize that hymns are, do you also realize that bless the Lord, oh my soul, it's a hymn. So it may not be a redemption hymn now, it's a hymn. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. It's different. It doesn't sound like a traditional hymn, but it is a hymn.
A hymn.
So I can decide to sing contemporary hymns that are not found in one book of hymns.
So therefore, we should be mindful how we define spirituality.
So let me tell you something. I think in our part of the world, sometimes we confuse culture with scriptures. Do you understand? We confuse culture with scriptures. So you are not a Yoruba person. In our culture, I have to bow down to greet you. Right? But hey, that's not so with somebody from Igbo land. And so if the Igbo brother doesn't bow down to me or prostrate, it doesn't mean he's disrespecting me. Do you understand what I'm saying? So many times we confuse scripture with culture, and that happens a lot. And so we have to be able to understand, is this scripture? And one way that God shared this, one word that God spoke to me was this: we have to understand that God's agenda is greater than our personal bias.
Whoops.
Yeah. God's agenda is way bigger than our personal bias. So you may be a pastor and you say you don't like Black American music. That's your personal bias. That's your personal bias. You can't laud your... let me tell you, so let me give you an example now. One of the ways that pastors stifle worship in church. A lot of pastors, of course, we grew up. If you're a pastor, you're 50 or you're 55, and you got born again 20 or 30 years ago, you all grew up listening to Bob Fiston, Mwen Ron Kenoli, and all of that. In fact, I'll give you a scenario. I was in church one day, and the pastor was stepping off the stage, and he was singing the song, "Be glorified, be glorified." You know the song, right?
Be glorified.
So he was singing that song. Yeah. And the keyboardist could not play. And the pastor was wondering what's going on. And I said to him, what do you think? The guy wasn't born when the song was done. He wasn't born. You see, you as a pastor are the one who need to learn new songs. Not, because sometimes in our heads as pastors, we think that the old songs are the most powerful songs. Is a lie.
The holier songs.
Is a lie. They are writing powerful songs today.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Once again, this is the Pastors Roundtable. And today we have Pastor Wale Adenuga in the house, and we're looking at creatives. What do we do with them? I want to say a big thank you to Mike Agana, Pastor Tunji Adigun, Pastor Yemi Lebi, NK, I see you. Thank you so much. Adejoke Jibowo, thank you so much. Now, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so while we're at it. Please do so. And if you have questions, feel free to ask your questions, and I would just echo them to Pastor Wale, and he would help us with an answer. Now, do you think that the church adequately supports and recognizes the talents and the contributions of creative individuals, musicians, artists, entertainers, etc.? Can we do more?
Yeah, we definitely can do more. And I'll tell you how we can do more.
Yes.
So a lot of these creative people, you see somebody who's an actor, a filmmaker, a singer, and are doing very well. They also transform into what you call influencers.
Okay.
And so one of the things that the pastors should do, if you have people like that in your church, is to get behind those kind of people. Your job is not to compete with them. Your job is not to try and be as popular as them. You see, when I was a worship leader in my church, my pastor is Femi Obaweya. And this is way before social media. So I'm talking about the 90s. My pastor was secure in his own calling. My pastor would say to me, "Wale, look, I'm going somewhere. I know you're popular. They know you. Follow me. Because I know that when they get there, the door will open. Just tell them I'm your pastor." Do you understand? So he was secure in his calling. He wasn't intimidated by my fame. So what a lot of pastors should do today is to identify, once you see a gift, is to disciple those people. Is to disciple them. Now, you see, it gets to a stage where, I'll give you an example, because I like giving examples. You find people. I have a guy who, when I was pastoring, his name is Debola Williams. Is known as, a lot of people know him as Debola Lagos. So Debola Williams, Debola is in his 30s. He's just done phenomenal work, right? They started companies like Y Naija, Statecraft, were involved in bringing Buhari to power, and all of those things. Now, I cannot expect that Debola will be in church every Sunday.
Yeah.
This is somebody who Obama has called and given a speech in front of Obama, and Obama stands up and claps his hands for him. How can he be in church every Sunday? Because he's traveling all over the world. But look, there's no major decision that Debola wants to take, whether it is marriage or whatever, that he won't come to me first and say, "Pastor Wale, what do you think about this?" So if I see that he does anything wrong or untoward, it's not a matter of even calling him to the order. It's a matter of picking up the phone and saying, "Hey, what's going up there?" So you want to disciple people. I think that's one of the things, that not use people, but disciple them. One of the things that I'm giving examples, not because I want to show, but just to help people.
No. I mean, yeah, please go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
So before I stopped, while I was pastoring, we built a children's facility. And one of the things that we did there was that we built a studio. It wasn't the best studio, but we just built our studio. And we had these kids, who were doing music. And this is 2016, 2017. And they go in there, look, those guys today, there's a guy called an Endless Ocean, top heavy hitter. I mean, these are young boys who are doing great things. These are guys that have recorded. T.Y. Bello got to record with him. I believe that if those platforms were not there, they would not be where they are today. You see, because you have to understand something about church and music. A lot of people say, oh, a lot of the church musicians today came from the church. Of course, they come from the church. Where else will you find free keyboard to play?
Yeah.
That keyboard is just lying down. It's only church now. It's only church. And let me just say this. The only songs that need to be written by Christians are not gospel songs. The national anthem is not a gospel song. Baba Black Sheep is not a gospel song. Do you understand? Happy Birthday is not a gospel song. So it shows you that there are many things that we need to write that doesn't necessarily have to include Jesus. And Jesus Christ will not be angry that his name is not inside the song.
Wow.
We need to get a lot of people.
Pastor Wale, I'm not that homo.
No. So let me show you this. Let everybody here go on iTunes or Apple Music and check the first 100 songs. It's not likely there will be a gospel song. The top 100 songs that are streamed in Nigeria, I've checked once in a while. There's no gospel song there. So it tells while we might be celebrating ourselves and think we're doing well, I'm saying globally, we don't have the kind of influence we think that we have. So just to wrap up what I said, pastors need to identify creative people and disciple them. You may not understand everything that they are doing. This gentleman I call an Endless Ocean, he doesn't write lyrics like Nathan Ebasi. No. He doesn't. But when you listen to the songs, it just, great lyrics, it resonates with the young people. And you have to understand that, hello, we old people, minority. One of the things that changed the way I pastored was one day I was going home and I got the newspaper and I saw a quote at the back of the newspaper that says, people between the ages of 0 and 11 constitute 42% of the population.
Wow.
The moment I saw that, I told the guys in my church, I'm sorry, I'm not running old people's home. It's not that I'm not concerned about old people, but I have to expend the majority of my energy in helping young people. Let me stop there.
Whoa. Hello, everybody. I think it's unfair if you don't share this. I mean, hear what you're hearing, and if you keep it to yourself alone, so please press the share button and just get as many people as you can to join us live. All right. So how can we integrate these talented people? How can we, make them part of church? How can we create opportunities for them to express themselves? Okay. How can we do that?
Yeah. So the opportunities are there. I think, again, it still comes to the pastor. The pastor is the one who will give that permission for the feathers to be ruffled. Yeah. So let me give you an example. I have it. Well, I'm not a pastor anymore, but I mean, I have a major concert that I do. And in my head right now, next year, I want to start that concert by bringing a DJ on stage. Yeah, that's how the worship event is going to start, a DJ. Now, I did it once when I was in church. I mean, everybody was like, you're crazy. No, but the question is God angry? You have a problem with your culture. The people, DJ Khalid has millions of following him. That's a nation. We have lots of young, right, in Christendom in Nigeria. DJ Hofure, I had the young guy who's relocated to Canada right now. So the question is, there are people who share spoken word, right? The Bible says we should sing to ourselves in hymns, psalms, and spiritual songs. There are 150 psalms in the Bible. But who says I can't write Psalm 151? Who says I can't write Psalm 152? Do I give armies opportunities in the church to come out and I say, read Psalm 151, and the guy writes Psalm 151 or Psalm 152 and reads it out? Such that if that guy was alive when the Bible was being written, there's no way his son will not enter the Bible. Right? So it's given, but too many times we're comfortable with normal. We're comfortable with normal, but normal has become predictable. And what I mean by that is that during your praise and worship, a lot of churches, people can almost bet what the next song is going to be.
Yeah.
And the only way to defeat that predictability is to encourage creativity. So I always tell, for instance, worship leaders that, for instance, when you want to start worship, instead of you coming out and saying, oh, let's stand up and worship, what stops you from bringing a 5-year-old boy, ask him to write a poem, and let the boy come and read, his ode to God at the start of the service? Trust me, when you do that, the hearts of people are going to be melted. You see, this is a God that created 8 billion people in 8 billion different ways. I don't understand why church now limits praising God to 30 songs. It's an insult. Right?
Wow.
So there are different
Maybe we are afraid.
Because we're too normal.
Maybe we're afraid of what could go wrong.
You see, we find it normal to blend. We find it normal to blend. That's what it is. Okay. And one of the things that would help us, honestly, one of the things that will help us to be creative sometimes is to even just leave your church and go somewhere else. And go and see how things are done elsewhere. I'll tell you that for free. Just go out and see. I'll give you an example. I'm sure I shared this story with you the other day when I was speaking to the guys in your province about how I told the ushers in my church, I said, this Sunday, I don't want to see you guys. Just come to church, carry the church bus, and go to house on drop. That's where you should do service. Stay in the congregation. After service, follow them into the newcomers, eat their donuts, then come back to church. Now, these guys, on the way out, they had not left the car park in House on the Rock when they started receiving calls. Thank you for coming to church today. That's something that we never did in our church. Wow. Maybe it will take like 3 million years later before we wrote them a letter. So sometimes creativity, we're not saying that you should, come up with the ideas yourself. Ideas are everywhere. And what you need to do is go out, expose yourself, see how things are done, and then adapt it. Right? So, yeah.
Thank you so much. Whitney Houston first started singing in the New Hope Baptist Church in Newark, New Jersey as a child. Okay. She was one of the world's, rooted. All right. Pastor Wale, you are shaking the table, eh?
I don't know.
You are shaking the table. Somebody's asking, what could the church or Whitney Houston's parents have done differently to help her? In other words,
I think it's all about discipleship and all of that. Because I think the challenge with, I'm not judging, but I think the challenge with someone like Houston would be fame. How do you handle fame? And that's where godly counsel comes in. How do you handle fame? I always tell people there's a certain level of fame that every man is destined to carry. If it's not managed, your head will not be correct. All right? And then you will now need to do a whole lot of other things to be able to manage that situation. So there's got to be people who are able to speak the truth into our life. But obviously, I don't know about Whitney Houston, but when you take someone like maybe Michael Jackson, for instance, you find that sometimes even the people around you are not really interested in you, but are interested in what they can get from you.
Yeah, from you. Yeah.
That happens sometimes in church too, that people just want to use you, oh, this is our star boy. No. But can you speak the truth to that person? And tell that person, I mean, I have my pastor from MOHBAD to today, because he has transited from just being a pastor. He's my senior brother. He's someone that can come and say, oh, but your head is correct. You've got to have people like that. You know, these people have to have people like that in their lives. You know, so and I think that's the major. I think that's the major issue.
So how can the church? You've already alluded to culture. The challenge of different cultural expressions, and it's like, so how do you build a church that is receptive of diversity? Whereby different cultures can come together, and still be able to find expression, still be able to, worship God. How do you create that atmosphere that is receptive to diversity?
So let me, I'll just use another example to buttress that, how can that happen? I'm sure you've noticed that if you go to a reasonably sized church and the music is good, you'll probably have 3 keyboardists and 3 bassists. But you go to another church, they don't have any keyboard player, the music is whack, and they're praying for a keyboard player. Meanwhile, there's another church, they have like 5. Right. So it's about the culture. It's about the culture that is promoted in your local assembly. So if the pastor says, look, in this church, we appreciate creatives. So let me give an example. While I was pastor, and I'm talking about, this is like 7-8 years ago, I think 4 times a year.
Oh, I'm not sharing him anymore now. Is that my link?
Was full drama, right?
Okay.
Right? And so you had lots of people, because of what they saw, whether they even read dramatic art or not, they were attracted to that. And in that way, they were discipled. Way before COVID, we used to have a service that is called I Worship. And what we did was we just put worship songs together, no preaching. We just play worship videos. The only human interaction in that service is when the offering is taken. We need the money, obviously. So we'll take an offering. But this is way before COVID. So when COVID happened, there was no cause for alarm. Do you understand? Because that culture had already been embedded, right, in the people. I don't know if you get what I mean. So
yes,
you have to, right, just what I mean. You have people who can do drama. You have kids who can dance. The question is just that, what are they dancing into?
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yes.
One of the things that we did to help also boost creativity in church was when we started, for instance, we started the interest-based cell groups. Because as pastor for like 3 or 4 years, we only had 6 house fellowships that were not going anywhere. Then all of a sudden, I heard about these interest-based cell groups where, okay, the people who love football come together. The people who like to play X5 come together. And so in one day, we started 36 interest-based cell groups. People who love hair come together. People who like book. People who like to discuss the news. So they had these interest-based groups. What the standing rule is, you discuss the Bible first. After that, you can now talk about Arsenal and Manchester United.
Wow.
Do you understand? And so that itself shows, I mean, just, somebody will be here will be thinking, how spiritual is that? I'll share a testimony with you. The guys who were running the X5, the games thing.
Interest, yeah.
They had they said we were going to do an outreach. Honestly, even me as pastor, I was like, I don't even know where they said we were going to do the outreach. So these guys went to hire 5 screens, brought guys from the community. On the day I walked into the church, there were close to 200 young people in church. These are guys that never came to church. And they eliminated themselves. How much was the first prize? I don't think it was 50K. Now, in the middle of that, we got somebody to preach. Of course, I'm not the one who's going to preach. They will slap my face. We have two guys that we usually use for that kind of thing. We have a guy who's gone to prison, who's turned his life around. I have a guy who was in the occult. They don't talk for more than 10 minutes. Talks for 10 minutes. Boom. People give their lives to Christ. Now, what we did afterwards was that we didn't just stay there. We now made sure that these people were trained, or if you want to know how to repair generator, know how to repair mobile phones and stuff like that. That is more creative than the usual evangelism stuff that we do. Do you understand what I'm saying, sir?
Yeah.
I remember one day, I've been part of Let's Go Fishing Committee forever. And one day, I don't even remember, maybe like 2014. Yeah, 2014 or 2016. We were having Let's Go Fishing. The theme of Let's Go Fishing was the Father's Heart. So everybody, we should invite somebody. And I'm like, please, I just rolled my eyes in the meeting. Can't we just do something different than all these? Because at the end of the day, it is ourselves that will call to the meeting and we're preaching to the converted. Just do something different. So we said, okay, what should you do? I said, why don't we have a football outreach? So we designed a league. We call it the Father's Cup. We designed a league, put it on websites, and we had teams come to play. On the final day, we had the third place match and the final match. And we got Jonathan Akubori, who is a Christian, to come and share his testimony. Pastor Noruwa, this guy didn't speak for 5 minutes. If I was the one who made the altar call, a lot of the people who came to play the football gave their lives to Christ.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you see, let me tell you something about predictability and creativity. And we see it. Those of us who are 50 years and above, remember this trap that we set for rats. You put the string back and put a piece of dodo. Uncle, those traps don't work anymore. Because today you set the trap, you come back the next morning, the dodo is not there, and the trap is still intact. You see, even unbelievers know where you're going to make a pitch and ask them to come to Christ. They know. So we need to be unpredictable and creative. Just like God caused the burning bush to burn and not be consumed, and he attracted Moses' attention. What are we to draw people's attention?
Thank you so much, Pastor Wale. This is mind-blowing. As many of you as are pastors listening to me, I hope you are taking notes. I mean, my head is full of things I'm going to do after now. Now, I remember, I followed the Hallelujah Challenge. This last one I just ended. I'm not sure at which of the outings, but I remember Pastor Nathaniel Bassi saying that when he went to South Africa to do, I think, one of his first, videos or something, and they said to him, remove Jesus and, we'll take it far. And he said, sorry, I can't do that. Now, question I want to ask is, how can the church help our creative people to navigate the entertainment industry, which is not anything close to holy to a very large extent? How can they interface with that industry and still remain, as they are, believers and Christians? How can we help them?
Yeah. So first of all, I think first of all, it's a case of calling. Right? So if you have a musician or you have an artist, the question is, what are you called to? Let me give you an example. Denzel Washington. I've not seen Denzel Washington act in a Mount Zion film before. Right? I mean, he's doing action films, Equalizer 1, Equalizer 2, Equalizer 3, he's killing people, a lot of that. But everybody knows today, when Denzel speaks about his faith, everybody listens. You know why? Because his speech is undergirded by morality and integrity. Here is one guy who has stayed married for God knows how many years. I don't know, maybe like 40-something years.
Wow.
That's something that you don't find in Hollywood. So when he speaks, everybody listens. So it comes back to discipleship, Pastor. We need to disciple our young people, have morals, to have integrity. Do you understand? So Uncle, the fact that you sing Jesus doesn't mean you have integrity. I mean, we all know pastors that don't have integrity. So it's not what you are saying that is important. Do you understand? It's what you're doing. It's what you're doing. There's a guy called Benny Mack. He died about 20 years ago. He's a comedian. Okay. He's a black American. I will never forget. I watched a documentary on him. I will never forget something one of his guys said, what somebody said when they were talking about him. They said, when they finish a show, when they finish acting, when everybody goes to the club, Benny always goes home. And even though he died in 2021 or 2001, and he was 50-something, he was already married for over 20 years.
Wow.
It comes down to character and integrity.
Integrity.
We need to build people. We need to disciple young people. So that, look, when these guys go out there, of course, it will reflect in the kind of songs that they write.
Yeah.
They will writing nonsense songs.
Yeah.
The ones who are called to be worship leaders will write the worship songs. The ones who are called to write songs, because the truth of the matter, Pastor Noruwa, we need, for instance, love songs. When I want to dance with my wife, I'm not going to be dancing to shout to the Lord. Because I'm sure even the Lord himself will just do his eyes like this and say, you people. Do you understand?
Oh my God.
We need good, holy, wonderful songs. I mean, if you're a pastor here, you have given birth to a child, that means you have done something. So please, we need solid, and we need our young people to write solid, straightforward, holy love songs like we have in the Songs of Solomon. In fact, even some songs in Songs of Solomon, if you sing them today, it's X-rated, though. It's X-rated.
Maybe I can ask this question: who is making music for wedding receptions? Can you please, we get. I was.
You have lots of guys. You have lots of guys who are doing that. Yeah, wedding reception. Yeah, I have lots of guys who are doing that, playing a wedding reception.
Let them make more. I was at the wedding on Saturday, and lovely couple. Their daughter was getting married, and I could see Mama looking shocked that her daughter was singing and dancing to all those songs.
Yes.
So at the stage, I tapped her. I said, "Mommy, she's born again. Don't be afraid." So please tell your people that we need songs that we can play at wedding receptions and not be feeling funny in our chairs. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, so another thing, Pastor, is that even when people write those songs, how do we help them? Let me give another example. So I have this young guy, like I said, his name is An Endless Ocean. He's written some amazing songs, and he's having a concert on the 26th of November. Now, in my church, this Sunday, they are spotlighting him.
Okay.
Right? They're spotlighting him. They want to get the church to support him. That is what the church should do. Because if this boy, another session, his name is Ayo, if this boy ends up in the world, I tell you, Burna Boy will be small.
Wow.
I'm telling you, because of his gifting in songwriting. As a church, you need to get yourself behind those kind of people. Yeah? Give them a slot to sing. Cut your message from 25 to 20 minutes. Yeah.
Powerful. All right. Somebody says, okay, NK, Maduforo, I write love songs. Brilliant. Please share some of them with me. And I will send them to Pastor Wale. I promise to do that. Okay. So this is the Pastors Roundtable, just in case you are just joining us or you are joining us for the first time. It's a forum where we have life-giving conversations that edify the body and glorify the Lord. Tonight, we have Pastor Wale Adenuga, and we are discussing what do we do with creative people in our churches. It's been a wonderful, wonderful time, enlightening conversation. So, Pastor Wale, how should the church respond when creatives produce content that might be controversial or that challenge traditional views?
Yeah, I mean, so I think obviously there must have been a whoever produces that kind of content, you must have deviated and started moving towards that direction. Not just today, but for some time. Now, the truth of the matter is that if your creative person, your influencer in your church, you're discipling that person, more likely than not. So, for instance, if it's music, more likely than not, before that person releases that music, he or she will share it with you. If for instance you have that kind of relationship. I mean, for instance, my pastor Femi is no longer in charge of me, but even till today, before I come out with any song, I'll still send it to him. I'm not that he should I'm not sending it to him that, look, this is something I'm coming out with. So do we have those kind of relationships? Now, when that also happens, do we I know of instances where creatives have been called by, maybe not even their pastors, but somebody that they highly regard and say, what's that? And they pull it down. It's just like you may have preached. Everybody must have someone that they're accountable to. Everyone. And that's something that we must instill into the lives of our influencers and our creatives. Now, we're not trying to control their lives. No. No, we're not trying to do that. And then sometimes as well, we also need to ask ourselves, I hope I'm not dogmatic. But if clearly this is something that went above the line, you ought to be able to call that person to order in love. Right? And then also you have to understand that everybody has a measure of how do I put this now? There's some people that you can, Pastor Noruwa, there's some people that I can call to do something for me, and they will tell me, oh, I don't have time. And you will call that same person 20 minutes after I called them to do something for you on the same day that I asked them, and they will do it for you.
True.
You understand what I'm saying? I don't know what you consultants call that. So that respect has to be earned.
Yeah.
That respect has to be earned. Yeah. So that's the way I'll put it. So when people have done something that is not right, just call them to order in love.
Okay.
Just call them to order. Yeah.
So tattoos, earrings, etc., etc.
I don't know whether you still want this table.
There was a disclaimer at the beginning, so I'm safe.
Yeah, okay, that's true. You're still there. I mean, let's take tattoos for instance. Hello, my grandmother had a tattoo. Her name was Ambali, was written on her hand. Right? So sometimes a lot of these are cultural issues. And let me just say this. There are tattoo people all over the world. There's nothing that you can do about it. I believe God is not going to shut the door against them. In fact, what would happen is most likely the Redeemed Christian Church of God has to start considering ordaining pastors that are tattooed. Because that way they'll be able to reach, I'm telling you, they'll be able to reach a tattooed nation. That's the reality. You see, let me give you an example. There's Pastor KG Hamilton. Everybody knows him, right? KG Hamilton used to be Fela's boy. He smoked weed and all of that. When KG Hamilton goes to Mushi to preach, everybody stands up. Babaniye. If Wale Adenuga goes there in suit and tie, they will slap my face. What do you have to say? You see, God redeems us, cleans us up, and wants to deploy us back to where we came from. To go and deal with people there. Because you will not be the first and last person to have a tattoo. That's the reality. Our young guys, our young children, I cannot have dreadlocks. I can't do all those hair things. But hey, they love it. They do it. And you see these things, it's a matter of time. In 10 years' time, they'll leave it. And trust me, God doesn't hate them. You might hate them. God doesn't hate them. Oh, they're wearing earrings. You see, these things against our cultural issues. Do you know that there are cultures where the men, I mean, I'm sure you've seen men in Kenya. What's that tribe? They wear it.
Yes, yes, I can see them now, but I can't remember the name.
Some
Maasai, the Maasai, yeah.
That's what they do.
Maasai.
You know, sometimes a lot of these things that we uphold, that's why I say there is culture and there is scripture. Do you understand? There are men who wear gowns. Oh, you go abroad. No, okay. You go and live in Canada and don't wear trousers. Go to Canada and don't wear trousers. I mean, you want to come back home because the cold would deal with you severely. You cannot pretend though and wear down on top of, but we all too, if we do X-ray in the hospital, we'll see that you're wearing trousers. Yeah? So please, and that's why you have to ask yourself, are we upholding culture or we're upholding scripture? Yeah. And that's what the young people have a problem with sometimes. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So guys, everybody, thank you so much, folks on YouTube joining us. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. Usually all previous editions of the Pastors Roundtable, you can find them. If you just go to the channel, you can find all of them there. So please, and I'm going to put this one up by tomorrow. It should be up. And, you know, I intend to share the link afterwards. As we begin to wind down, Pastor Wale, how do you envision the relationship between the church and the creative community evolving as we look into the future?
So what I think a lot of eyes, people in leadership, I think their eyes are getting opened. Starting to realize that the people who are creatives, they wield so much power. I mean, I probably shared this with you when I had that meeting in the province. So, I mean, I can give you figures. I mean, my other phone is not here, but I don't think there's any pastor. Okay, maybe people like Jerry Eze, who's doing all the stuff with NSPDD and all, right? He probably has, I don't know how many people follow him on Instagram or whatever. But I mean, take people like, take Daddy Gio, Bishop, Oyedepo. I don't think any of these people have 5 million people following them on social media, on Instagram. So what that means is if Davido sends a tweet or does something on I don't even know how many people, maybe that 20 million people following him, or Burna Boy does that.
Yeah.
It just shows that they are reaching more people than the Jew. With all due respect, and that's just the truth. And so what we need to do is, again, just disciple our influencers, our creatives, disciple them, right? Sometimes just one quote from them goes deeper than anybody. And we have to understand that God has given gifts to men. But a lot of us think that the gifts that God has given to men is just tied to, you have to be a pastor, you have to be an evangelist. Yeah, people are actually being evangelists, but not in the ways that we understand.
No need to be.
You understand? People are being evangelists in diverse and creative ways. So that there are people who are waiting for some people's post in the morning.
Yeah.
And by that, I mean, there's this crazy guy, Pastor, there's this crazy guy. Okay, I'm giving you this classical example. There's this guy called Josh Too Funny. Josh Too Funny is just too funny. He has millions of people. He's a Christian, solid Christian. Now, there are a lot of pastors who are here today who don't know. Sometimes we don't even know what is happening in the world, though. It's only when you see somebody wearing dreadlocks, you say, hey, is it that one? That's elementary. Just a few days ago, I understand there's some challenge going on called the ceiling challenge.
Yeah. I think I saw it on X.
So you have somebody, the ladies put a phone up in the air and, they show themselves while they're twerking. If you don't know what twerking is, go on Google and find out. They're shaking their bum and all of that. And what Josh Tufoni now did, he now did a song countering that thing. Right? I will try and send it, countering that thing.
Please do. Please do.
Yeah, and that was as far as I'm concerned, the best message that I've seen. I will not be surprised if I go to that page now and find over 10,000 comments there. Do you understand? That is a creative there. A God-ordained creative. Doing an amazing work.
Yeah, and that reminds me of the question I said I was going to ask, which I'd almost forgotten. You left pastoring, Pastor Wale.
Yeah.
And so tell us what happened? I mean, why did you leave pastoring? And it's almost as if you've been unblocked or released.
So what happened is, I've always vowed that I can never be a pastor. I joined my Redeemed Parish in 1994. So I was there up until 2018. And 1997, I was assistant pastor and worship leader. So 2010, my not pastor family, we had another pastor. He had to step down. And it was at a very funny intersection in life. And they said I had to step up to be the pastor. And I did. Now, the interesting thing was by 2014, 2015, in fact, I'll tell you the moment. One day, I was praying with my guys. We normally prayed at 1:30 a.m. And the reason why we prayed at 1:30 a.m. wasn't because it was so spiritual. It was just that at that point in time, in 2014, MTN used to do these free calls at midnight once you're on the same network. So we decided that let's take advantage of that and pray. So as we were praying that night, I just felt God said to me, hey, put your house in order, just start to wind down and step down. And so I sent my message to my pastor, my provincial pastor is Pastor Dela Mesa. She didn't even talk to me for like 2 months because the truth of the matter is that there was no reason. The church was doing extremely well. In Redeem, we all know is money and people. Right? We're doing extremely well. So she didn't answer me, And I have to tell you, it took 3 years before I could step down. Yeah, 3 years. She convinced me, came back. After a while, I just knew that it was time to go. Yeah, and that's it. I told her first, I think in August 2015, I remember very well. But I stayed on February 2018. And even when I stayed on in February 2018, she said, oh, okay, yeah, I'm still going to stay as a pastor, that kind of thing. So that's it. I believe that God allowed me to be a pastor to learn a whole lot of things about church, which is what. And now you've attended a couple of conferences that I have organized.
Yes.
I don't like doing usual stuff. I go straight to the issues that affect the church, down to earth stuff, right?
Yeah.
So but because I pastored, I'm able to identify those things and bring them out to the fore. So I believe that God just allowed me to pastor in those 8 years to be able to see all those little challenges that pastors have and help to deal with them.
Wonderful. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, Pastor Wale. It's been, if I had my way, I also would do a part 2 of this. Thank you so much. So if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to the channel. Number 1. Number 2, like this particular video. Like it so that more people will get to see it. Next month, by the grace of God, even I am the topic and the guest is intriguing, is politics orphaned in Nigeria. All right. Politics is an orphan in Nigeria. People use it and then dump it. Okay. And I have Professor Vincent Anibogu as my guest. Prof is somebody who left America, came to Nigeria, because God said to him, go and disciple your nation. It's going to be wonderful next month. I have no doubt about that. It's Wednesday, the 20th of December, 8 p.m. same time. We're looking at politics orphaned in Nigeria, and Professor Vincent Anibogu is my guest. Somebody says, does it make sense if our top fathers one day run a special gathering for our celebs?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that would be effective. So sometimes one of the things that the pastors also do is sometimes you have the celebrities in our midst, and it's like you are adoring them. And listen, and that's why sometimes I go into a city, I want to go to a church. I just want to sit at the back. I don't want to sit in the front. I just want to, and that's why a lot of these people, they just want to come to church. You see, you have to understand the celebrities' life. They are haunted every day. They go into disguises and all of that. You know? And then you now come, you add so much pressure. If the guy just comes, he wants to sit at the back, you just leave him there. Don't even recognize him.
Yeah.
Because he has just come to worship God. You know?
Yeah.
I see that many times in my life. I go somewhere, I'm Pastor Wale is worship, come to the front. I don't want to come to the front. I just want to sit at the back. Right? So I really don't see what that. I don't know if God leads you, to do that, fine, but not to be done for the sake of doing. Yeah.
For the sake of doing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody who has been part of this conversation. I want to believe that you've learned a bit, stuff you can take back to your churches and begin to implement. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Pastor Wale. Quite a number of people are online and they are saying thank you. Thank you so much, sir. I have enjoyed this, one of my best so far. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Pastors Roundtable. We meet every third Wednesday of the month at 8 p.m. Nigerian time, and we discuss issues that affect pastors, and we try to find solutions that you can implement on the fly. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody. It's been a wonderful time sharing this evening with you. I hope we'll meet again next month by the grace of God. And watch out, I have some things available, books, messages, etc., etc. I'll be doing, not a Black Friday, and I don't like calling the word Black Friday, White Friday, where everything will be going for, almost half price and all of that. Okay. Thank you so much. Please, once we are done now, press the share button and, take this, copy this link, take it to your WhatsApp and just paste it there. All right. Just copy the link, take it to your WhatsApp, paste it there on your church WhatsApp group, on that your old students WhatsApp group, on all those WhatsApp groups where they post all manner of stuff. This is valuable stuff, okay? And just post it there. Thank you so much. Hi, Gideon. That's my brother-in-law. Good to have you here. Thank you so much. Shegun Idonije, Olisa, Niyi, Titi Adenike, Israel, Thomas, New Wave Tech. Thank you all so very much, and God bless you. Thank you. Pastor Wale, thank you so much, sir. God bless you. Good night, everybody.